Good morning and welcome to the Sunday Sermon with Reverend Riff. I am your host, Reverend Riff. Thank you for so much for being here. As you might be able to notice, I am not in the normal lair. We are at my mom's house, and it's actually kind of funny because the room that I am in is my childhood bedroom. And so coming live to you from here is kind of hilarious to me in a way. But that's where I am. I hope everyone is having a great Sunday. I thank you all so much for being here with me. This is our sixth one now. And yeah, I'm glad you appreciate the shirt, Bale. Yeah, I've got a whole collection of awesome, brightly colored, gaudy fat guy shirts that I am all about rocking. So, thanks for being here. I know it's Mother's Day. Tell your mom you love her. If you are a mother, I greatly appreciate your contributions to society. The whole world could not function without you, and we appreciate what you do. So, I took an Uber ride on Friday to go hang out with some friends and have some drinks and have some good times. And my Uber ride there was interesting. It was interesting because I had a maniac driving. No, their driving skills were fine. It was that they attempted to come at me, which I don't even really know how we got on the subject. But the subject of disease and getting sick. Yeah, here we go, Kurt. Here we go. The subject of disease and getting sick and whatnot came up. And this person attempted to tell me that, well, they didn't attempt to tell me, they told me that they don't get sick and they don't worry about getting sick. And I said, oh, really? And I was expecting to get some kind of I take vitamin C and drink milk thistle or some kind of shit like that. I was just sure that's what was coming. But no, no, no. She tells me that she doesn't have to worry about getting sick because the Bible says so. Which naturally fucking worries me greatly. And so I'm like, what do I do with this? And she gives me this like really nonsense story, and she cites some scripture that really she had no business citing. And I I feel like it's almost my duty to clear this shit up right now. This specific passage of scripture, because this person told me that this specific passage of scripture is like making the rounds in the shall we say the ultra conservative right wing community, will be nice and call them that, online. And the anti vax community and the anti mask community, they've all kind of really seized on this one piece of scripture. And it's driving me nuts. So, for the first time here on the Sunday sermon, we are going to have a public service announcement. I didn't want to do this. I got other things to do to talk about on this show. But this is absolutely necessary because people are fucking insane. So here goes. Oh yeah, I got a cute, cool little dongle. Probably doesn't work. So Psalm 91 is the text in question that was cited by this maniac. So Nazis? Yeah, we could use Nazis. I know, women voting, not strangling our children. What are we doing here? So the text in question that is being erroneously cited goes as such. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord. Hold on one second, guys. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure we had something right. Okay. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Surely he will save you from the fowler's snare, and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers, and from under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Here we go. This is where it really ramps up. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. Yes, right there. Yes. This is the crux. Right there. Well, Kurt, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, buddy, with the hymn thing. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If you make the Most High your dwelling, even the Lord, who is my refuge, then no harm will befall you, no disaster will come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in your hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread upon the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent, because he loves me, says the Lord. I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call upon me, and I will answer. I will be with him in trouble, and I will deliver and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Yeah, so let's look at this here for a moment, shall we? As the rational, decent people that we are. So, that text there, when you read it, says you'll never the plague will not come to your door because you trust in God. And this person was basically attempting to tell me that because they believe in God, they don't worry about getting sick, because this text says they're not going to get sick. I'm not going to beat this into the ground. I'm not going to get all crazy and start ranting about what an idiot this person is. I'm going to remain more reserved here. Deep breaths. This is a psalm, and anyone who knows anything about the Psalms knows that they are songs. They were praise songs. And I don't know, but I have a feeling we have a few songwriters in the chat today. And I don't know if any of you gentlemen in your songwriting have ever employed this little device in your lyrics called hyperbole. It's hyperbole. When Marvin Gaye sang that there ain't no mountain high enough, he did not literally mean that if you separated him from his lover with the highest mountain in existence, that he would be able to scale that mountain unscathed to get to the other side. He was not saying that no matter the topographic or geographic, obstacles in his way, that he could get to his lover. It's a sentiment. It doesn't actually mean you can't get sick. I mean, it also says in here that you will never strike your foot against a stone. So if anyone has ever stubbed their foot ever, but yet also considers themselves someone who loves God, then this passage is already failed you. Because if you've ever stubbed your foot, yeah. Also, it says that you will tread on lions and cobras. So, why don't you head down to the zoo and ninja kick a lion and stomp on a cobra at the same time, because, hey, nothing bad can happen. God's got you covered. People, if you're going to cite a Bible verse and say that it tells you that you have some kind of magical protection, don't cite a hyperbolic song that absolutely 100% is not rooted in fact. It's a song. Songs, you always say you exaggerate things in songs because they sound good. It's high art. You can still get sick. Wash your hands. Put a mask on. Get vaccinated. Don't believe in magic. It's the dumbest shit. I can't believe I have to say this, but I have to say this because apparently I have to say this. I apologize if I was missing out on the chat. Yes, he did mean it when he said let's get it on. Marvin Gaye meant that shit. He meant that shit. But yeah. So, wash your hands, get vaccinated, all that good stuff. Oh Lord, what have you done? God wills it. Yes, it's all God's fault. Let's blame God for our bad decisions. That's what's going on here, people. So, All right, let's move along, shall we? Now that I've got that out of my system, I feel a little better. I feel more calm now. I really needed to get that out. So, you know the drill. It's our second week of angels, demons, and other mythical bullshit. And this one today, I want to let you know that this is a labor of love for all of you. Because this week's angel forced me to read a lot of text that I don't want to say that I'm not comfortable with it because that would imply that I have a problem with it. And I don't have a problem with it. It's just, it is text that I am incredibly unfamiliar with and is very unique in its format. Because today's angel really only makes a slight maybe cameo in the Bible. This is not, a labor on Mother's Day. Yes. um, a priest telling his congregation that the vax is made from dead baby parts. There's a real specific thing in the Bible about bearing false witness and that it makes God angry. So I would confront them with that because if the vaccine was actually made of dead baby parts, they would clearly be able to cite actual fact to prove that. But of course they can't because they're full of shit and they're scaremongers and nobody needs people like that. But anyway, let's dive into our angel of the week, shall we? We are going to talk about the Metatron. Now, I feel like most people know the Metatron as Alan Rickman from the Kevin Smith movie Dogma. For a lot of people, that is probably the first time they heard of the Metatron, and there's a reason for that. The Metatron does not appear by that name anywhere in the Bible. That name comes from the Kabbalah, which I'm sure some of you have heard of because Madonna thought it was interesting for a week or two. And so everybody's heard it. Metatron was a Decepticon. But yeah, so he's depicted as the voice of God in Dogma. That is one of many little roles that have been ascribed to the Metatron. He's really interesting in that it's kind of a character that's taken on a life of its own with, like I said, he's really there's one section of the Bible that may be talking about the Metatron. We'll get to that. And then we're going to look at some of the other texts where he's from, but he's kind of like a fanfic character. Like there's not a whole lot of real text that points to the things that we believe about the Metatron. We really kind of made most of that up ourselves. But that's what we do with religion, right? It's fun. As you see on the screen there, that is Metatron's cube. It is purported to have every shape that could possibly occur in nature is contained somewhere in that cube. And again, there's nothing biblical about that either. It comes from Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, which is, like I said, I don't know a ton about it. So some of this was very interesting for me this week as well. Let's move along. Now, the Metatron is not necessarily believed to be a standard angel. Like, when God created all the angels at the beginning. No. The Metatron is thought to be one of three people that we have likely already encountered in our stories. We know our homeboy Enoch. We're down with Enoch. Remember when the whole Enoch didn't die thing? Yeah. Well, apparently there is a strong belief, especially in the Kabbalah community, that Enoch, when God spirited him away to heaven, he turned him into the Metatron because you couldn't just exist in heaven as a human. He would need some kind of, physical modification to be able to exist in heaven. So God turned him into Metatron. Jesus. Some people have easy for me to say, hypothesized that the Metatron was Jesus before he came to Earth. And there's not really any text to point to that other than a whole lot of conjecture, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that, but I thought it was important to at least bring it up because it is something that people believe. Another one that has a little bit of text to back it up is some people believe that Michael the Archangel and Metatron are the same. That's very possible. Again, the text is murky on this guy. The Book of Enoch is a book that we've talked about a lot on here, probably the book we talk about the most that isn't actually in the Bible. This whole Metatron thing had a lot to do with that. The idea that God would take Enoch up to heaven and turn him into Metatron, which is definitely mentioned in that book, was pretty controversial. Yeah. And it was one of the things that led to this book being excluded at the Council of Nicaea from the Bible, was that there was a lot of idea that humans could not become angels. So that book kind of flew in the face of that teaching, even though like they kind of had the idea that God couldn't turn you into an angel. Yet these are also the same people that believe that God is omnipotent, and which of course means all powerful. So I don't really know how they square those two, but that's not my problem. And yeah, heretical debates have happened in the rabbinical community. The Book of Enoch is true because it was deplatformed at the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea, the ultimate deplatforming event of all time. Oh, that's good. That's rich. Um, Rabbinical text, which we're actually going to look at in a minute here, there's been some heresy about the Metatron. So yeah, he's a spicy guy. So, this is from the Zohar. This is the book that, if you're into Kabbalah, you read this book. Bereshit 51, verse 475, because why would you just break up into more chapters, I guess? All the supernal secrets were delivered into his hands, and he, in turn, delivered them to those who merit them. Thus he performed the mission that the Holy One, blessed be he, assigned to him. 1,000 keys were delivered into his hands, and he takes 100 blessings every day and creates unifications for his master, the Holy One. Blessed be he, took him from this world so that he would serve him above. That is our reference to Enoch right there, that he was taken from this world. And you also see with the 1,000 keys and the 100 blessings that the Metatron in the Kabbalistic view, the Metatron is up there. He kind of is the one, he understands everything in the universe. He's kind of the guy, he's up there writing down everything that everyone is doing, keeping a record. He's kind of like God's bookkeeper. And he also knows all the secrets. He knows everything about everything. In some Jewish mysticism, if you need an answer to something, you would ask for the Metatron to reveal it to you. You're not really praying to Metatron, but the idea is that the Metatron, that's where the voice of God thing comes from. The Metatron would deliver that information to you by God's will, allowing you to learn what you needed to learn. Plenty of songs say you. Yeah, I don't know. The music industry's been saying people could turn into angels for years. I guess maybe we should. Somebody's got to be lying, right? Now, I'm sure everybody remembers. You probably don't. And if you weren't here, because we've got some new faces, welcome new faces. When I reference old sermons, all those old sermons are available on our YouTube channel. We put them up. They take a couple hours after the sermon ends on Sunday. They go up on the YouTube channel, Riff Zealot YouTube. I'm not going to post a link or anything because I'm sure you're smart enough how to Google Riff Zealot on the YouTube thing. But if you do, you can go there and watch all the old sermons so that when I reference these things, you'll know what I'm talking about. So if you remember in our Jewish space laser sermon, we talked about Abihu and Nabab, the two dumbasses that didn't follow the rules at the temple and they got space lasered. If you remember, we talked about how the space laser came out of a pillar of smoke that led the people through the desert. And apparently it did not have good GPS signal because they wandered around in the desert for 40 years, when if you go to Google Maps, you can look and it should take about 6 weeks to make that march. So, not great GPS, but there are some people that believe that cloud of smoke, that was space lasering, folks. That was the Metatron. There's no text that says that was the Metatron, but some people have chosen to believe that it was. This is the text they cite. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, For he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Now, the people that say that Jesus was the Metatron, this is where they get that from. For my name is in him would basically say that God is, in the Jewish faith, of course, you never write the name of God. You leave the vowels out and you never actually write the whole name because that would be disrespectful. So that text, for my name is in him, is very powerful. That means that God has put his stamp of approval on this. Now that's not, some people would say that an angel, just a regular angel, that's too much power for God to imbue upon him. So this had to have been pre coming to earth to save our sins, Jesus, that he was the Metatron here. You can't really argue it one way or the other. There's nothing that supports it, but it could be. And so is what still a practice, Kurt? So yeah, maybe that was Jesus. What is interesting here, and this is just a little side text that I think is interesting because that's what we're all here to do, right? If you've learned anything from my sermons, then I appreciate you because that's the whole reason I'm doing this, is it's an educational thing. So, oh yes, no vowels and no full name. Yes, if you ever see like Yahweh written, it will be written YWH, and that means that means Yahweh. Some texts, even if they were to write Lord, they would write LRD. They will not write LORD. Yeah, the Hebrews still take that very seriously. And actually, the no vowels thing, that is just all Hebrew. If you learn to read Hebrew, a lot of it is reading the Torah. The Torah does not have vowels in it, so it becomes like a memorization thing because you know what the word is, but if the word was can, it would be CN, and you would have to know from the context that it was the word can. But yeah, that is some intense stuff. What's up, Turbo Duder? Yeah, the Metatron is pretty dope, man. So he's this cloud flying around, space lasering wayward priests, and now what I was getting to about the provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions. That's a really cool phrase. Why that is important is what God is saying here is don't act a fool in front of the Metatron because he doesn't have the ability to forgive you. Yes, Croft, welcome. Yes, there are some people that believe that pre-coming to earth Jesus was the Metatron and that he was the one that led the Israelites around in the desert. And that's what they mean by for my name is in him text. That's kind of what that is about. But the provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, basically is stating that if the Metatron witnesses the Israelites do something against God's will, he will instantly strike them down because he can't forgive them. He doesn't have that power. Only God can forgive. So God is warning the Israelites here. They're like, hey, don't fuck around in front of dude, because while if you fuck around in front of me, you can repent before I get my smiting stick out. The Metatron, there's no repenting. There's just smiting. So don't fuck around in front of the Metatron. That's a little interesting subtext there. The Hagigah. This is part of the Babylonian Talmud, and it also mentions the Metatron here. It said it is taught as a tradition that on high there is no sitting, and no emulation, and no back, and no weariness. Perhaps, God fortend, there are two divinities. Thereupon they led Metatron forth, and punished him with 60 fiery lashes, saying to him, why didst thou not rise before him when thou didst see him? What the hell does that mean? Basically, this is an account of a rabbi, who eventually would be declared a heretic because he claims that he had a vision where he went to heaven. Again, he also claimed that this was metaphorical. People didn't like that part. They just kind of went with the dude's a heretic part. And he said that he saw heaven, and sitting next to God was this angel. Except for it is taught what he means by there's no back, no weariness, no emulation, that only God is allowed to sit in heaven. Everybody else has to stand. Kind of think, royalty rules. Only the king can sit. Nobody else gets to sit. It would be disrespectful to sit in front of the king. So when this rabbi gets to heaven and he sees that there's somebody sitting next to God, he goes, "Oh, there must be two gods because nobody else could sit next to God." This is so heretical that Metatron is beaten in front of him to prove to this rabbi that Metatron is not a god. He's just an angel and can be punished by God. And as you see, they're chastising Metatron here, saying, by you not standing up when that guy got here, you allowed him to think that you were on par with God, so we're going to beat you 60 times with a fiery lash. That seems intense, but, it's God we're talking about here. Intense is kind of what he does. But, yeah, that's the Metatron, folks. The Book of Jubilees is another book that explains how to celebrate Jewish holidays. We conducted him in the Garden of Eden in majesty and honor. These are for people who believe that Michael the Archangel is Metatron. We conducted him in the Garden of Eden in majesty and honor, and behold, there he writes down the condemnation and judgment of the world and all the wickedness of the children of man. If you remember the Garden of Eden story from Sunday school, when God kicks everybody out, there's the tree of life, that if you eat from this tree, you'll never die. God puts an angel with a flaming sword at that tree to guard it so that Adam and Eve can't go back and eat it and become immortal. Most people believe that Michael was the archangel with the flaming sword. As they mention here, that, he was at the Garden of Eden. Well, that would have been Michael, because that's where Michael was. And he writes down the condemnation and judgment of the world. This is why the Metatron was allowed to sit in the previous setting. He's got this giant book in heaven, and he's God's stenographer. He's writing down everything that anybody ever does so that God can be like, yeah, remember when you did that thing? And you're like, no, God, I don't remember that. And he's like, Metatron? Metatron goes, let's check the record here. That's you doing that thing. Boom. Now you're in trouble. Because, if nothing else, heaven is going to be like a courtroom. Alright, we're now on to our demon of the week. And I want to take a moment and let everyone know there's going to be some triggering imagery coming up. Some of these pictures of some of the demons are very scary. And I want everyone to be prepared for the scary demons that are coming. Metatron, a shit coffee mug. This sermon is rated scary, Bale. It's S for scary. So Asmodeus, he is one of the 7 princes of hell. 7 princes of hell? The fuck am I talking about? Let's go on. The 7 princes of hell comes from a tract called Lantern of Light that was written in 1409, 1410, somewhere in there, by John Wycliffe. Now, why have you never heard of Wycliffe, John? Well, let me hip you to this guy because he's pretty important. Everybody knows Martin Luther. In 1517, he laid the smackdown on the Catholic Church, created the Protestant Reformation, which started the Reformation, which created the Protestant movement, and that's why, Northern Ireland is a shithole. So, how did that happen? Well, we often in history think of like Martin Luther's moment as this like lightning strike that he just decided the Catholic Church was full of shit and he was leaving. Obviously, that did not happen in a vacuum. Things built up to that. John Wycliffe here is one of the people that was the forerunner to that thought. And one of John Wycliffe's big beefs with the Catholic Church one of his big beefs with the Catholic Church was their categorization of sin. Because the thing, I don't know how much you know about the Reformation, but Cliff Notes version, one of the main things that Martin Luther left the church over was the idea that the church was the only intercessor to God. Man could not go to God by himself. You had to go. You couldn't confess your sins to God and be forgiven. You had to confess to a priest who would then absolve you through power given to him by God. Martin Luther said that's nowhere in the Bible that it says that's true, and it's not. And so the church was making a shitload of money off this. And Martin Luther thought that was bullshit. Well, even 100 years before him, other people thought this was bullshit. And there started to be rumblings that maybe you could be forgiven of sin on your own. That you didn't have to go to the church, which of course would jeopardize the church's business model. And because when you really want to look at it, think of it like a multi-level marketing scam. The Catholic Church is the subscription model. You consistently have to go and keep going to keep your subscription current, because if you die and your subscription is not current, you will go to hell. The Protestant method is more like the franchise kind of idea. Hey, anybody can talk to God. Anybody can start their own church. You right there, you can start a church. You right there, you can start a church. Let's start churches everywhere and the money will roll in. So it's really how you want to look at it. Do you prefer your Christianity subscription method or franchise method? That's the main difference. And it's been 600 and some years of, problems about that little difference. So, one of the things that John Wycliffe did in his Lantern of Light uh, tract was he ranked the seven deadly sins in how much order they offended God. And he assigned a prince of hell to kind of be, the patron demon, if you will, of each one of the seven deadly sins. The seven deadly sins they're not really truly canonical to the Bible. The main thing with the seven deadly sins is they kind of made it easier for people to understand. Remember, we're in a very pre-literate world at this point. People can't read the Bible because they can't even get a copy of it because they're so expensive, as well as the fact that most of these people can't read. So you could teach them the seven deadly sins, and it made it easy for them to understand shit they weren't supposed to do. Wyclef Jean made this shit up. There's seven demons. He made this shit up. He cribbed a bunch of text from Babylonian, Assyrian mythology. He took some Gnostic gospel stuff. He baked it all together into this crazy shit. Peter Binsfield basically rewrote the track in 1589 and turned it into a way to hunt witches because he was a real dick. So, moving right along, I want to show you the seven princes of hell. We have Lucifer. He's the god of pride. Leviathan. He is the demon of envy. Satan. He's the prince of wrath. Belphegor, the prince of sloth. Mammon, the prince of greed. Beelzebub, the prince of gluttony. And Asmodeus, who is today's topic, he's the prince of lust. And as you see, lust is the worst one, because Christians have had hang-ups about sex for thousands of years. So, yeah. Asmodeus is only mentioned once in the Bible. It's right here in 2 Kings 17:29 through 30. Nevertheless, the people of each nation continued to make their own gods in the cities where they had settled, and they set them up in the shrines that the people of Samaria had made on the high places. The men of Babylon made Succoth Benoth. The men of Cuth made Nergal. The men of Hanath made Ashima. Ashima is another name for Asmodeus, and as you see right here, every black metal band ever stole their name from this Bible verse, because they're unoriginal and boring. So, Asmodeus, he appears in the Testament of Solomon. The Testament of Solomon is a batshit crazy book written probably they don't really know, somewhere between 100 and 1200, by an unknown Greek Christian who he liked magic. He did like a Harry Potter fanfic with King Solomon, because why the fuck not? Yes, in that book, Solomon forces Asmodeus to help him build the temple with Michael the Archangel's magic ring that Solomon has. I can't make this shit up. That's what it says. Asmodeus also foretells to Solomon that his kingdom will split, which isn't really a prophecy when you wrote the prophecy hundreds of years after it happened. But, we're sticking with it here. We're trying to hang with this guy. So, yeah, Asmodeus, he helps Solomon build the temple because Solomon has the magic ring which controls demons. He is the demon of lust. He tempts people. There has been some debate that Asmodeus was who tempted David, because, as we learned last week, we can't just believe that David was, a horn dog who did something really dumb and, screwed up. No, no, we have to believe that some magical being caused David to sin. And that is also a big part of the seven deadly sins in the tract that John Wycliffe wrote, The Lantern of Light, is he's attempting to give people a way to feel better about the sins they commit. That as long as they repent, it's okay. And that it's not a bad heart or being a douche. That's why you committed these sins. You committed these sins because these evil demons tempted you to do it. That's not how it works. Own your shit. But hey, Logger, welcome. No, we're still going here. We're talking about demons, and so yeah, the demon Asmodeus, he he's the lust demon. He also has a nemesis, and it's pretty amazing who his nemesis is. His nemesis that he battles in almost every instance that he comes up in is Raphael. Yes, Raphael is the great, is the fucking arch nemesis of Asmodeus. So Raphael the Archangel battles Asmodeus in almost every text that they appear in together. It's good times. Alright, now on to our mythical bullshit of the week. We have Leviathan. Because I'm just really gonna bust on all the black metal bands this week. So yeah, Leviathan. I found this painting of Leviathan. It's not really what Leviathan looks like, but man, is that dope. So we're gonna go with it. So, Job. We're gonna go back here for a second. The book of Job is one of the most. Do I listen to black metal? No. I listen to it ironically. I listen to it and laugh. I'm not a fan. I don't hate on it. It's just definitely not for me. I have tried to get into it because a lot of my friends really like it. It just doesn't click with me, but it's fine. It's fine. The book of Job is one of the most amazing examples of petty bullshit. And for if you ever thought God loves you and cares about you, don't read the book of Job. Whatever you do, don't read that book. Because it's not a fun ride. Cliff's Notes version of the book of Job. Job is a really good dude who has a great life. God and Satan are hanging out for some reason. And Satan goes, Job only loves you because you made his life super easy. If you weren't so nice to him and he didn't have such a fucking life of Riley, he would not be on your team, dude. And God goes, nah, Job loves me, man. It doesn't matter. And so Satan goes, if you let me fuck with him, I'll bet you I can prove that he will curse you. And God goes, I know he won't, so go ahead. You can do anything you want to him, but kill him. So Satan proceeds to kill all of Job's children in a building collapse. He causes his fields to go barren. Pestilence overtakes his farm and kills all of his livestock and everything. And just, he gets sores. His wife hates him. Everyone shits on this guy. And still he keeps saying, God is good. God is good. God is good. And so eventually the devil gives up and God gives him back everything that he lost twofold. So I guess that means he has two more kids, but somehow that's, as a father, that has never to me made sense to make up for the fact that all of his kids were killed, because that seems fucking brutal, but what do I know? And what this book is actually meant to do in the Old Testament church, let's think about Council of Nicaea shit, folks. Why would you include this book? Because this book tells people to just deal with it. That the world is shitting on you, you just love God. Don't blame God no matter how much the world shits on you. Even if God told the world to shit on you to prove a point in a bet with the devil because he's an asshole. So, yeah, go with that. But let's move on. So here we are in Job. This description of Leviathan is about the dopest thing you've ever read. So buckle up, buttercups, because this thing is badass. I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely proportion. Who can discover the face of his garment, or who can come to him with his double bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible round about. His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a close seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They stick together that they cannot be sundered. By his neesings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. In his neck remaineth strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him. The flakes of his flesh are joined together, they are firm in themselves, they cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone. When he raiseth up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reason of breakings they purify themselves. That's right, they shit themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold, the spear, the dart, nor the habergeon. He esteemeth iron as straw, and brass as rotten wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. Slingstones are turned with him into stubble. Darts are counted as stubble. He laugheth at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp-pointed things upon the mire. He maketh the deep to boil like a pot. He maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh a path to shine after him. One would think the deep to be hoary. Upon earth there is not like his, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is a king over all the children of pride. Yeah. This is insane. We got a fucking dragon that is so big the water boils when he comes up out of it. He shreds iron like straw and brass like rotten wood. Like, this thing is fucking dope. Yes, the hoary deep and comely proportion. Yes. Amazing text here. Yeah, I use the King James because translating this into readable English does not do it justice. This is fucking poetry, folks. This is the most terrifying Dungeons and dragon you've ever come across in your life. And he also lives under the water. And he is fucking shit up. Now, he's mentioned also in Isaiah. In that great day, the Lord will punish with his sword, his fierce, great, and powerful sword, Leviathan, the gliding serpent, Leviathan, the coiling serpent. He will slay the monster of the sea. He's not talking about killing a sea monster. Isaiah's whole portion here is referring to the enemies of Israel. And... oh no, there's nothing wrong with this logger. I am pro-Leviathan. He is pretty freaking amazing, actually. So, Leviathan is the female companion of Behemoth, because we are going to beat this black metal joke into the ground today, folks. Behemoth is a sky monster that I'm sure we will talk about later. He is the male version of Leviathan. In the Jewish Talmudic text, eventually there's a whole big battle with Leviathan, and it's also mentioned in Revelation. Eventually, Leviathan will be defeated, and they will take his skin and make a tent, a giant tent. That's how big Leviathan is you can fit thousands upon thousands of people under the tent you make from its skin to have this party. And if you're a true loyal Christian, you get to eat Leviathan's flesh at this party. If you are just kind of you were kind of a good Christian, you get to watch the party. You still get under the tent. Well, Leviathan is, the name Leviathan has been co-opted into many, many mythologies. The original writers in the Bible probably cribbed it from somewhere that they heard. There is no guarantee that it is original to the Bible. Yes, the world serpent, yes. Very similar kind of thought. Again, in case you haven't noticed yet, all of this stuff has been built together. Just like eventually we're going to do a compare and contrast the Epic of Gilgamesh versus the story of Noah, because they're the same story. Gilgamesh is just more awesome. But we'll get to that. So today we have our fallen hero. It's Jonah. I feel like everybody knows Jonah, right? Just if you were picking five Bible stories that you would assume your average person had at least a cursory understanding of, I feel like Jonah is definitely one you would be, I would certainly guess that people know Jonah got swallowed by a whale, right? But do we know why Jonah got swallowed by a whale? Yes, that is definitely Zyphan. That is definitely a Christianity thing. It's 100% right. A way to make it more palatable is to incorporate elements of their religion, because again, religion is about control. It's a way to get people to work together and put aside the quarrels that in a pre-civilized society you would have had any time a group gets too large and you get people that aren't all related to each other. Then they just start killing each other anytime they get mad at each other. Religion helps keep us all in line. And so we've got the story of Jonah. Cliff's Notes Jonah. Jonah lives in the land of Israel. And God says, "Hey, I need you to go up to Nineveh and tell them if they don't stop fucking about, I'm going to hit the smite button." And Jonah's like, "Nah, I'm not really into that. I'm not going to do that." And God's like, "Yeah, I need you to do that." And Jonah's like, "No, I'm really not going to do that." Three times, God tells him, "Dude, you need to do this." And three times, he's like, "I'm not going to do that." So he decides to get on a boat and go the exact opposite way of Nineveh. He wants to go to a city called Tarsus. There's that magic number, Bale, three times. Keeps rearing its head. So Jonah gets on this boat, and the boat, all of a sudden, a storm comes out of nowhere, and it is whooping this boat's ass. And the guys on the boat are freaking out. They're throwing stuff out of the boat, trying to get the ballast right. They're praying to every god they can pray to. They come to Jonah, and they say, "Jonah, we know that you're a man of God. Can you pray?" Dale equals God. I can't actually argue that, so we're going to go with it, Kurt. That's now canon. Um, and so they say, "Jonah, pray." And Jonah goes, "Me praying isn't going to fix anything, guys, because I think this is all my fault. I don't want you guys to die because I'm an idiot. So toss me in the water. It'll be fine." They're like, "We can't do that." And he's like, "No, trust me. It'll work." So they toss Jonah's ass in the water. The storm stops. A great fish, some folks have even thought it was Leviathan itself, comes up and swallows Jonah. Jonah is now hanging out inside the fish. It's kind of shitty. It's got to smell some kind of way in there. Eventually, Jonah says, "All right, God, I'll do what you want." So the fish goes and pukes Jonah up onto dry land. Jonah goes to Nineveh. Jonah preaches to the people of Nineveh. They repent. God doesn't smite them. It's a happy story, right? Wrong. So let's talk a little bit about Nineveh. Nineveh was the Assyrian capital. It's located in present-day Mosul, which is in Iraq. I'm sure you heard of it because some rather pitched fighting has been happening there recently. Yes, there has been battles in the Christian community about whether it was actually a whale or just a great fish, because the actual translation does mention great fish, and whales are mentioned other places in the Bible, meaning that we would believe that they understood the difference between whales and fish. So was it a whale? Was it a great fish? If you're going to be a literalist, the text says a great fish, so then it wasn't a whale. Or we could go that maybe it's interchangeable. But yeah, there are people that love to fight of it. Yeah. So it's the Assyrian capital. It was at one point the most populated city in the world. Which around the time that Jonah is supposed to have occurred, which is around 750 BCE, that's around when it would have been the most populous city. It was growing in population at that point. It was becoming an absolute marvel of the ancient world. And It was destroyed in 612 BCE by the people that had previously subjugated, mainly the Babylonians and the Medo-Persians. They kind of rose up and laid the smackdown on Nineveh, and it was really never the same. So, why do I think Jonah's a dick? Go back for a second. Why do I think Jonah's a dick? Well, it goes with what happens after that story. See, everybody, when they tell the Jonah story, that's kind of where it stops. Jonah preached to the people of Nineveh. They repented. God didn't strike them down. If that's where the story ended, Jonah would only be sort of a dick for not listening to God in the first place, nearly getting people killed on the boat because he was running away and involving them in his assholeness. The Assyrian capital, that was Nineveh, actually, was the capital of Assyria at the time. And so, Jonah, he eventually does what God asked him to do. And the people of Nineveh are spared. We should be happy, right? Jonah was not happy. And he prayed to the Lord and said, "O Lord, is not this what I said when I was in my country? This is why I made haste to flee to Tarshish. For I knew that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love, and relenting from disaster." So, what does that mean? I'll tell you what that means. He literally said, God, this is why I didn't want to go to Nineveh, is I knew that if I did, and I preached, that they would repent, and you wouldn't destroy them. And I wanted you to destroy them. Yes, this dickhead is mad that God didn't smite a city full of women and children and instead allowed them to repent. Because Jonah was a racist. He didn't like the Assyrians because they were the power at the time and he was a Hebrew. So he would rather see all these people killed and, died. Hey, Bale, thanks for being here, buddy. But yeah, Jonah would rather see all those people die just because they weren't Hebrews than actually go save them. He literally went there and preached under protest and then is mad that it worked. He is mad that God isn't smiting the city. That is just so callous to me and so unbelievably awful. And then, God teaches Jonah a little lesson. Jonah decides, when he realizes God isn't going to smite Nineveh because the people repent, Jonah goes out outside of the city and he pouts. And he sits there and he pouts. Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Kurt Cummings, for the subscription. So, there were some notes that the Assyrians were cruel, and that's also, again, that could be more like the propaganda that they spewed against the Philistines too. There's no guarantee that take all that the Assyrians were horribly cruel with a grain of salt, because when you look at the source material, it's off. Yes, everyone was cruel back then, exactly. The Israelites would call the Assyrians cruel, yet the Israelites decimated men, women, and children without fail and sowed salt in the ground, cursed the ground of Jericho, so pot calling the kettle black kind of situation. But, so Jonah's sitting out in sulking because God isn't killing a bunch of women and children, and, that's really grinding his gears. So then God makes a plant grow. Some people said it was a gourd or something of that nature. And this thing grows, and it provides shade to Jonah, and Jonah is really digging this plant. Then the next day God sends a worm, and the worm infects the plant. However you want to look at it, the plant dies. Jonah is beside himself and cries out to God, "How could you take this plant from me?" And that's when God really gets irritated and goes, "You fucking jag off. You care about that stupid plant more than you care about all the people in that city. What's wrong with you?" And Jonah never really gets the point. Jonah just kind of goes I guess you got a point, God. Whatever. But yeah. So Jonah's a dick. So the next time somebody tells you the story of Jonah, make sure that they, you inform them of the whole story. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the Assyrians did some subjugating and some brutal stuff, but again, everybody was brutal back then. This was not a time that anybody wanted to be alive. At best, you were, it was tolerable, and at worst, it was brutally crushing, death and destruction. But, yeah, don't be like Jonah, guys. To me, that is like the antithesis of God's word. Like, go out and try to get, like, and I feel like my moral for you to take from this is I feel like the woke crowd could learn something from this story. Yes, I took some shots at Republicans today with some of those slides, and, I'm being a bit of a dick. That's fine. But when someone sees the error of their way, when someone changes, when you inform someone that they're doing something wrong and they make an effort to change, be happy about that. Be thrilled about that. Be gracious about that. Don't, God forbid, get mad that, well, they're not a dick anymore. Well, but they used to be. But if they're not a dick anymore, if they have grown, if they have changed, if they have learned, celebrate that. Accept it, at least. Do not go off and sulk outside the city gates and care more about a plant than you do about a person because you wanted them to get what they had coming to them. I feel like so many people always want to see the other side get what they have coming to them. And, I get it. It's natural to feel that way. It really is. But when people change, accept that. When people work to become better people, embrace that. So, I'm not decrying cancel culture. I get its purpose, but permanently canceling people is fucking stupid. People can change, and we should embrace that and love them when they change. Because there's no point in going out pointing out things that are wrong if you don't actually want the person to change. Like, if you're just pointing it out because you want to rub your face in them that you're more woke than they are, you're a dick too. So don't, again, that is rule number one here, is don't be a dick. So people can change, and when they do, we should celebrate that. Not be angry that they're not getting destruction from on high and that the space laser isn't coming after them. That's not cool. So, thank you for being here this week. Happy Mother's Day to any mothers that are here. Happy Mother's Day to all of your mothers. And say something nice to Mom today. And again, if you take anything away from this week, when you see people that you conflict with, seek to change them. Seek to make them better. Don't, root for their destruction. Be a good person. Be better than Jonah. And the space laser does come for us all. Victims of crime do deserve justice. I agree with that. But people can change. And again, I'm also, in this context, we're not necessarily talking about crimes as ideological differences. People can change. But yeah, no, victims of crime, I certainly believe. And yeah, the space laser does come for us all. So thanks for being here, everybody. Next week, we are going to change the format up a little bit. I'm not going to give too much away now. I will in the Discord. If you're not on our Discord, let me fire that link in here again for you. And, well, they all go up on YouTube as well, Logger. I will get this one up on YouTube later this afternoon. If you go to YouTube, search Riff Zealot, all the Sunday sermons are on YouTube. But, yeah, the schedule is every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. is when I come on. Next week, we will be back at 10 a.m. I will hopefully be back in my home instead of here at Mom's house. But I think we mitigated the changes okay. And so, yeah, we are... Next week, we're going to change the format up a little bit. We've got some new segments that we're going to debut. And, yeah, I think it'll be fun. So, again, thank you, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. You could do a lot on your Sunday mornings. The fact that you hang out with me means the world to me. Thanks for everybody who lurks, subs, follows, just comes in and chats. It is greatly appreciated. So thank you everyone for being here, and have a great rest of your day. And don't be like Jonah. Be cool. Take care, everybody.